Hello and welcome to E233. I'm your instructor, Gregory Myers. In this video, we're going to do a little bit of cleanup on our main. We're not going to delete any code, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to rearrange this into a separate function that's going to act as a demo for our get max vector, get min vector, and get mean vector. Now, the cool thing about this is it's actually going to leverage another one of our functions. So this video assumes that you have not only made your get max vector, get min vector, and get mean vector functions, but also that you have your string find working. We're going to utilize the string find function that we built to leverage the switches so that we can call our own get vector demo function and essentially encapsulate these examples into another function. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to take a look at some minor changes that I've made in the function signatures. Now, it's nothing drastic. In the earlier video, we had get max vector. I opted to go ahead and insert double to indicate the data type to keep in line with some of our earlier examples. So not a drastic change there, but you will need to make a change in your function signatures to get max double vector, get min double vector, and get mean double vector. And this just allows us then to be able to do the same thing for different data types without any name conflicts in our function signatures. Now, if you come back over here then to our core driver, you'll notice that once again, as I said, it's starting to get a little bit cumbersome, a little unwieldy. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to come up here to the top of our main, or excuse me, the top of our driver, and I want to create another function. It's going to have a return value of int, but in this case, what we want to have is going to be get vector demo. And so the idea is that we're going to end up testing our get mean, get min, get max, and get mean functions. And to this get vector demo, I want to simply pass an integer that represents my argc, and then also my argv. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pass to it anything that was passed on the command line. So as we've done before, I'm going to just simply copy that prototype, and then down there at the end of my file, I simply want to start off with my new function. We're going to keep the same pattern here. We're going to have a results variable, and the idea is that the results variable then will be returned, or we are going to return exit success. Either is fine. We'll let that evolve as we go along. But we will need, at the very least, a results variable. And at least temporarily, we're just going to initialize it to 0. And then for right now, we're going to hard code the exit success. And we'll see exactly how we're going to use our results variable. Now, what we want to do is we ultimately want to migrate the examples that correspond to the get min double vector, the get mean double vector, and the get max double vector. The idea is we want to move these three down here, but we still want to have a way of identifying the command line switches. So the first thing we want to do here is I'm going to very carefully extract out these three options all the way down here to my else. So let's make sure that we're careful here. So good, we seem to have gotten all of the code. Now what we want to do is we want to come down here to our get vector demo, and we want to paste that in here. Now, a couple things is, first of all, is going to be a lot of red because we started off with a else if that now needs to get turned in just simply to an if statement. And then we have a lot of temporary variables that we have not yet accounted for, including our results variable, which we have up here, but what we want to do is also make sure that we have our curly braces matched, and that should knock out at least some of our errors. You can see here that we've got an index variable that we desperately need, so we're going to go ahead and do int index, and since we're using primarily for loops in this case, we're not going to bother to initialize it, although there is no harm in simply initializing it. And then you can see here that we're using our results periodically here throughout. Now, the idea here is we've wrapped all this up into the self-standing executable, the self-standing function, getvectordemo. How do we actually call it? Well, so the idea is we have our string find function. And if you come over here to your core.c, I'm briefly pulling it up. You should watch the video on how we created this. But as a reminder, then the string find function returns the count or the number of times that we have found a substring within a string. So in other words, the number of times we found our search string within the contents. Now, if you're very careful, and if you go back to your core driver, you'll notice that we've got somewhat of a pattern in our argv square brackets 1, in that all three of our switches have the word get in it and have the word vector. And for that matter, it also includes the word double. So what we can do is we can check our argv square brackets 1, and if it contains both the word get and the word vector in it, then we simply call our get vector demo. Now, we can also include the slash. That probably wouldn't be a bad idea. And it's up to you whether you want to include the double vector or not. Since I wasn't specific about whether it was a double vector demo or just a vector demo, I'm leaving that ambiguity then for the future. I suggest we simply just focus on the slash get and the vector. All right, so let's come back up here now to our main, and particularly what we want to do is we want to tack on to the end of our if else. Inside of here, we want to handle the logic then, should we happen to find a matching switch, or a switch rather, that matches any of those three. So we'll start off with a closed curly braces, and then we're probably going to need some nested parentheses here. But what we're going to do is we're going to actually use our string find function. Okay, and our string find function is going to use argv square brackets 1, and in argv square brackets 1, we want to look for the slash get, and if that is technically equal to 1, we could do greater than 0, but we specifically are looking for 1. And the string find function, when it's looking at argv square brackets 1, if it also finds the word vector in there, then that means that we likely want to go ahead and call our vector demo. So in other words, what we want to do now is we want to say results equal to the get vector demo, and we simply want to pass to it argc and then also our argv. Now, we've got a couple of things here. We've got to make sure that we've got our parentheses matched correctly. But more importantly, it seems I've jumped the gun here and I forgot my else if. And then also, if we are going to be looking at argv square brackets 1, we also want to make sure, just like in our earlier examples, that we have enough arguments to actually look at, or we're going to throw an exception, or in this case, what we're going to do is crash our executable. But what we want to do now is just like in our earlier examples, we want to check our argument count. And so we want to check to see that argc is equal to 2 and that the first switch has a get in it as well as having the word vector in it. And so now what we've done is we've tidied up our main significantly by simply encapsulating all of it inside of our get vector demo function. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this one. And we can go ahead and collapse our file read get C and our file read fscanf. And now you'll see that we're just going to do all of the demos inside. None of the logic has changed from our previous video. So if you build this real quick, provided that we don't have any typos. All right, so good. We've got an error here. Let's see if we can find it. All right, so yes, our string find function. Let's go ahead and navigate to that. I believe we've missed, yes, we've missed our locations vector. So we've got one more thing that we want to add in here. So technically we are not using it, but we can definitely utilize it here. So it's going to be int locations. For this particular example, we know that we're not going to be looking for that many. So I'm just going to go ahead and hard code in a value in there in case we decide that we want to use it later on. And then I'm going to pass locations and locations. All right, so let's go ahead and build it. Let's see if we've got any more issues. All right. Yes, so we already did have it. Never mind. So we just need to utilize it. There we go. I thought we had already had it. All right, let's build that one more time. Okay, good. So no errors. Let's give this one a shot. So we're going to come back out here to the command line. And remember, as I said at the beginning of this video, technically I've changed some of my switch names here as well as my function names. So get mean vector is now going to be get mean double vector. And you'll see that it runs just as it did in the earlier video. But more importantly, it's actually running from inside our get vector demo as opposed to being triaged in main. Likewise with our get min double vector, it appears to work the same. However, though, we've got a value here for index that does not seem to make any sense. So we have, I think we've lost a temporary variable here. Let's go take a look. So a little bit of troubleshooting later, it discovered that this error that we saw with the index being invalid just simply stems from redeclaring these variables inside of each one of the branches in our if statement. Doesn't appear to be consistent, but it's not something that we actually need to do. So what you want to do is move your variable declarations to the top of this function. So we're going to start off with our double for our sample, the int for our in location, and the double for our value. And we no longer need that then for our max and min demos. And then for the mean, then we simply delete the temporary variable sample that was associated with the mean double vector example, and then also the redundant n value. The n is still going to be necessary if we plan on passing it as a value to the get mean double vector and also the same value for the print f. So let's go ahead and build this real quick. And then we'll come back now to our command window. And if we run our core demo and our get min double vector, you'll see now that the minimum value occurred at index equal to 0. Our get max double vector occurred at index equal to 9, and then our get mean double vector then returns or results in a value of 4.5 for the 10 values. So in hindsight, once again, it's not a good practice to have your temporary variables, your variables declared in multiple places inside of your function. It's ideal to put them at the top. It does mean that you sort of have to have a little bit of forethought or a little bit additional organization. However, though, it does sometimes result in some strange behavior, and this was just simply one of those times. So hopefully you found this video useful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to let me know. What I'd like to see you do now is to update your help to reflect these new functions. But more importantly, what I'd like to see you do is come up here and to continue to clean up your main. And so what I mean by that is now you can use your string find to leverage the fact that we have a export switch. And the only thing that differs is the data type, and everything at the end then is 2D array. So basically what you can do now is you can create an additional function called export underscore array underscore demo. And so we'll go ahead and get you started on this. So we'll call this export underscore array underscore demo. And like the previous example, it's going to accept an argc and your argv, just like your main function does. All right. The only difference, of course, is that you would then, instead of searching using your string find, instead of searching the get and the vector, you would simply have another line that looks for the export in the array. And you can use this then for each one of your functions or your demos that follow this pattern. So notice there's the char 2D array, the double 2D array, int 2D array. So once again, these are 4 examples here that can be condensed down into a single function. So once again, hopefully you found this video useful. I'm going to work on this by myself, and hopefully you can do the same. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to email me, and thank you for watching.